always tell when a streak's going to come to an end. You win a couple of games, you probably shouldn't.
There are teams out there that could use that quality of playoff goaltending. All right, Ray, you ready to do this?
Yep, let's go.
And powered by Rev Media in partnership with TSN, it is Season 7 of the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is kicking off the season with a brand new holiday meal available now through December 30th. When you order any flatbread pizza, plus your choice of a select side and a small or medium hot or cold beverage, you will also walk away with a free pair of novelty holiday socks. Who doesn't like novelty holiday socks? I do. I wish I had. I'm gonna get a pair. So the next time we're going through the drive-through, we got to get the novelty socks. We'll display them here on the podcast. Sounds about right.
You should. You know what? I like colorful socks. I don't know why, but I think I do. I got a bunch of them, and I guess there's really no, it's not like it's making the outfit better, but I'm like, man, I kind of like them.
Well, look, are we fashion gurus? I'm going to say no, because I feel like this is festive. It's in the holiday spirit. It's part of the holiday meal campaign. It's a novelty pair of socks. But there are certain guys who still wear the, multicolored, they've got, dots on them, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but why not? What the hell's the difference? It's there. Why not?
I like it. No, this is different. I can't wait. So stop by Tim Hortons, get yours today. Good time with the family. Some soccer over the weekend. Ray, how was it?
Yeah, it was awesome. Riley came home for American Thanksgiving, so he got home on when did he get home? Saturday morning, and so first time he's been back home since August. And man, it's just the house it's got a lot of energy, right? Like it's just the way it should be. And so we're pumped to be back. And we were at the Whitecaps game on Saturday, which would be. The Whitecaps now are in the Western Final, and I know that people might not be paying attention to MLS, but they're in the Western Final. So there's 53,000 people on last Saturday, and so they ended up in the last 15 minutes of overtime with 9 men on the field due to an injury and a red card, and they were out of subs. It would be the equivalent of being 2 men down for a half a period in an NHL game, and somehow you don't get scored on. Like it was the most wild, crazy. Like they were playing LA, and LA hit the post 3 times in 5 seconds. Like I've never, honestly, if they gave the ball to those 2 players and said, ring this off the post 3 times and once off the crossbar, they couldn't do it. Like one of them would accidentally go in the net, and it just didn't happen. And it was honestly, Dregs, it was one of the most fun sporting events I've been to in a long time. And everybody was so pumped. And this week they're in the Western Final down in San Diego. And we wish them luck. We love soccer in our house, and Rise home for the week, and we're things are good. How about you?
We don't often see the cheering Ray Ferraro, do we? Not very often you see that side.
No, not in hockey. There isn't. I mean, like I really don't care who wins. I like the games and stuff. And this guy turned around at the end of the game and was sitting in front of us, and he's like, "Whoa, Ray! I didn't know you were such a big fan." I was like screaming at the ref, like,
"That's
blow
awesome.
the damn whistle!" And because at the end, because there's no clock, right? We're like, freaking blow the whistle, and the guy turned around, and it was really nice of he was all pumped up, him and his buddy too. So it was it was a great day. That was fun, really fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to get to the Canadian Brewhouse headlines in just a moment, but I want to run something by you because I had an experience on Monday night, and I was surprised at how angry I got so quickly. So I'm a bachelor all of last week and up until Thursday. Holly's out west visiting with Mason. So I'm watching, I think, the Tampa Bay game, whatever, doesn't matter. I get a call. So a random call, but it's like a Greater Toronto area number. So I'm like, all right, well, I mean, I guess I'll answer it, which was a mistake, right?
No.
It was a realtor who I've never heard of, but maybe there's been a communication in the past. I don't know. Asked about, our real estate plans. Are you interested in selling? No, I'm not interested in selling. Like I was polite, but I was short. I just wanted to, hey, because I was expecting, well, look, I mean, if you have a need for our services, we'd really appreciate if you give us a call if or when you get to that place where you want to make a move. Well, that didn't come. The person, the agent, whomever it was, peppered me like with 15 questions. And the one where I finally snapped was, okay, well, would you have interest in any sort of real estate investing?
Oh,
And
beat
I'm
it.
like, buddy, I'm just trying to watch TV. I said, would you want me to call you at 7:45 Eastern? You're home with your family. Would you want me to do that? I've already told you 10 times I'm not interested. So I was feeling a little guilty post-call, but that's why I asked. How would you handle a call like that?
Oh, I wouldn't have felt guilty at all. Like, first of all, it's a cold call. And secondly, now he's asking you to invest. It's one thing if I don't know, if he's asking if you want to sell your house, drive up to the house and put a flyer or a note in your mailbox. Like calling somebody at home, no good, in my opinion. Some guy calls me like, was this part of the Nigerian crown prince that's got money for people that you get the emails from, or like what? Not a chance. I'm Dregs. Nobody's called me. I'm starting to feel heat, and it's your problem, not mine.
I knew that's
like
why
that.
I brought it up, and not to belabor before we get into the headlines.
I don't like that at all.
I appreciate your take on these things. Well, it makes me feel okay. I wasn't I was blunt and I was quick at the end, but I wouldn't say I was disrespectful or rude. There were no F-bombs. I just said, look.
No, there doesn't need to be that, but don't ever call here again.
Yeah.
And if I do sell, I'm sure I don't call you.
Oh boy. All right, let's move along. Let's get to the headlines. Brought to you by the Canadian Brewhouse. Hockey lives at the Canadian Brewhouse. Catch every game with beer specials, game day prizes, so much more. All at the best hockey house in town. You can see in store or at thecanadianbrewhouse.com for all the details on what your local brew house is up to this hockey season. Another wild night, Ray, for the Florida Panthers. That's where we're going to start with the defending Stanley Cup champions. Second time this month that they put up 8 goals. And you'd remember the first time that was, against the Vancouver Canucks. AJ Greer scores 11 seconds into the game in that 8-3 rout over the Nashville Predators. So now I'm looking at, the Atlantic and I'm seeing, okay, well, Florida is in 6th. It's not great, but they're only 3 points back of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who, by the way, jumped into, I guess they maintain. No, they're first. They jumped into the first on Monday night because they surpassed the Detroit Red Wings. So I guess what it tells me, 22 games in, just past the quarter mark, the state of Florida does not appear to be ready to give up the label of Stanley Cup top contender at this point.
No. I mean, like I don't know. They've got the winners' DNA now, right? Two straight cups, and they just. I don't know. They have a belief that you can't make up, right? You either you have it or you don't, and clearly they do. Did you ever see the movie Rounders?
Yes. Yeah.
One of my favorites. So
it's a good one.
Right at the end, they're playing, and Matt Damon's playing John Malkovich, and he can't bust him. Like Malkovich can't bust him, and he goes hanging around, and kids got alligator blood, and that's what the Panthers have. They're just hanging around. And eventually here in the new year, which is now shockingly only, 5 weeks away, they'll get Tkachuk back. They're going to get a little bit healthier. Of course, Barkov you're not going to replace, but I think they're going to make it. I think they're going to make it, and damn, you just wouldn't want to run into them. I don't think. Now, Tampa, by the way, they were my pick to win the East before they got totally shredded with injuries, and Braden Point hasn't scored in the first half of the year. Like Hedman's out, McDonough's out, Point is out now, but like they're missing their top 2D, and they're still winning. Like it is, they're a feisty, like almost a blue collar team with, of course, Nikita Kucherov, and man, that division's going to get interesting because like how long can Boston hang around like this? But man, they've just been on an amazing month. They've had an amazing month, and I can't quite figure out what Detroit is. They play great, and then they lose 5-0 at home, and then they win the next game, and then they lose again. You know, like, but then they win 3 in a row, and you're like, like they're in it too. And Ottawa is out on the road. They're 2-1 on the road trip, and like it's not going to be an easy road getting through there. But I got the gut feeling that Florida is going to somehow claw their way through.
I want to talk about Nashville, and not just because, again, they take it between the eyes, the hands of Florida. I get that. Good players in Nashville, good coach, respected general manager in Barry Trotz, a great city. So why isn't it working? I mean, it's obvious roster related. Are they just too old, too slow, not the right complementary pieces? What do you see?
What I see is like it's an old fashioned thing, but you've got to have singers and dancers, and they got too many singers and not enough dancers, and so the show doesn't match. And so a couple of summers ago they went out and signed Marchessault and Stamkos in free agency, and they already had Forsberg. And now you got 3 guys sitting on the same place in the power play that like to play there, and you still don't have any centers. And so we've seen the challenge of for teams to cultivate a centerman. I don't know when this happened. It used to be only right-handed defensemen. Now it seems like most of the league is looking for a centerman.
Yeah.
And if you have them, you're coveting them. And if you want to move one, well, you're going to move one for a ransom. Like you're holding everybody hostage on it. So I do believe that's a big part of the problem. I guess the other part is what exactly is the roster that's assembled? What are they supposed to be? I think the best teams you can look at and for the most part identify what style of play they like to play. And you can't do that in Nashville. And they got some tough times in front of them, right? Like they don't have a particularly young group of players sitting right on the outside. They got a couple of years of Stamkos left, a couple of years of Marchessault left. They got Shea for 5 more years. Saros has 7 left. Like there's some speed bumps in front of them for sure.
Yeah, and look, the feedback that I get from general managers around the league, and in fairness, haven't pulled all of them, but the names of Stamkos and Marchessault are loosely out there. There's been some speculation just how their near future is going to evolve, and whether that's Nashville or whether it's somewhere else. But with all due respect to the pedigree of those men, feedback I'm getting from managers is, I love the idea of it. Those 2 are champions, but they're older and now slower players, and we don't need more of that, right?
Okay, the second part of that I think becomes the real crux of the thing is that they're slower. And they can score when they get to a spot. They both still can score, for sure they can.
Yeah.
But the fact that they can't get themselves around the ice to get to a spot as easily creates the problem. Like if you're an older guy, you can play your way into a 14-minute role and still be effective. Yeah. But if what makes you a difference maker is your quickness in Marchessault's case and speed in Stamkos's case, and of course they both have that shot. Mm-hmm. If half of that equation is gone or partly gone, then you're really in trouble. Like Corey
Yeah.
Perry has had no steps to lose for 15 years. And it's been the same thing. So as he's gotten older, really nothing changes. He gets smarter in the game. He's not really getting slower because he was never faster. And so I hope I'm making the case, like, this is where you see when guys, one of their best assets is their quickness and their speed, and that starts to slide away. Those are the guys that, in my mind, that really have trouble. It's hard to remake yourself when one of your best tools isn't as.
Yeah. You know, I again, we'll move away from Nashville, but it's simply because you do expect something to come from Trotz. You know, you just can't sit there and allow another season to just unravel. He can't. And so maybe you're open to smaller deals, right? And I had this conversation as we record here on Tuesday, earlier in the morning. Just an old hockey contact that I trust, worked with for a long, long time. I said, what do you think of Michael Bunting back in Toronto? And he kind of chuckled and he's like, well, you know what? He goes, he probably was at or near his best in Toronto, right? Popular guy in Toronto. He's in the final year of a 3-year deal in Nashville. The Leafs certainly could use a little piss and vinegar or a little bit more of that quote unquote dog, right? To drag some of their bottom 6 guys, will drag some of their forwards, into the fight a little bit more. So in saying all of that, I do think that Trotz has to be open to absolutely everything. We've talked about high-end guys, but maybe it's middle of the pack or lower level pieces just to try and get some new blood moving.
I don't think they'd probably be, opposed to any conversation. I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 teams in the league that are getting, the boat's getting crowded in that already. Like, do you think Doug Armstrong's willing to listen on just about everybody?
Yeah. Has to be.
Do you think in Vancouver they're now started? That's out there now that they're starting to listen around a bit. You've got Nashville. Whether Calgary says they're not rebuilding or not, they still got Rasmus Anderson sitting there.
Yeah.
He's not going to get to free agency.
And they're not trading him for veteran pieces coming back.
No. And so they're that's what I mean. The boat's starting to get, pretty crowded as, it's my second movie quote of the day. You're going to need a bigger, you're going to need a bigger boat.
Need a bigger boat. We're attracted, or at least I'll put myself in this category, to oddities in sport, not just in the NHL.
Oh yeah, sure.
Just weird stuff.
You got something?
Well, it was a bit odd, and that was the AJ Greer takedown of Trent Frederic the other night, right? And so for those who didn't see it, it's the Oilers, it's the Panthers. You've got a bit of a mix up in front of the net. Kulak got slapped in the face about 3 times by AJ Greer before, and I'm not being critical of Frederic. All of a sudden, Frederic comes in and they spin off out of the pack, and it looks like they're ready to fight. Greer is now in a vulnerable position, head down, almost between Frederic's legs. And he reaches down and around his knees with a double leg takedown. I'm like, don't love it. It's a dangerous play. Sure, but what was interesting was a 10-minute misconduct that went along with it. And, we're quick as a media to jump on the officials. Okay, you missed this call. You got that call wrong. All of this stuff. We pile on a consistent basis because of so many replays and whatnot. They got that one right. Whether it was for inciting or resisting, whatever the name of the penalty was, I think that was the right call for that type of, wasn't an overreaction, but you can't allow that to happen without a penalty being assessed. Would you agree?
No, I don't even know what the call is. Is it, but it should be something for sure. It's a dangerous play. Now Greer apparently has got a bad hand and wasn't going to fight. It's a lot different punching somebody with your glove on than if you're going to drop the mitts and get at it. So, and he was trying to explain that to Frederic in the penalty box, which I always find funny. I couldn't fight you. I couldn't punch you in the face because my hand's sore. And the other guy goes, yeah, I got it. like they understand. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
a different world, man. To me, that's just it's a different world. So, but it was, it was like that game got out of hand, and then it got close. And man, that's a lot of shared history there in the last
Yeah.
couple of years with the Oilers and the Panthers.
I want to get your take on Mikko Rantanen here, of course, coming up in just a second. But you just tweaked another memory, and I've talked about the Blues podcast with Holly and Kelly Chase and their
Mm-hmm.
stream of guests on a fairly regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's hilarious. When Brett Hull is telling stories, it's just good stuff. And likewise with Chaser. And Wendell Clark was on recently, and I don't know if you caught the clip or not. But who are they talking about? Maybe it was McCabe of the Leafs, but the guy had a goal and an assist, and all he needed was a fight, or he had a fight and a goal, and all he needed was the assist for the Gordie Howe hat trick. And Holly says, he goes, yeah, well, my Gordie Howe hat trick was a goal, an assist, and a fight with my coach. And I just chuckled.
There are
pure gold.
so many things that that of Holly's career, like getting Brian Sutter making him go serve an empty net penalty or too many men on the ice penalty, and then the penalties, and Holly's pissed. He's not taking this lightly. So he comes out of the penalty box, and the play's going from LA's end into St. Louis's end, and Holly's skating with his stick dragged behind him, and he skates right through the play all the way to the St. Louis bench. Like, he doesn't join the defense on the rush back. He skates right over there, and he's like, don't ever make me serve that again. And that was the end of it. Like, he was just, and the other part about that too is like when Kelly and like when Chaser and Twister are talking about, who's fighting who, like those guys were terrifying, because
I can't even imagine.
Our no matter where you were, like your big boy on your team, he didn't want to fight Twister. He did not want to fight him. And then standing like right behind him was Chaser, and nobody wanted to fight him either. It was like they were mean and they were tough. Like, and they played in that old frickin' building in St. Louis, and it was like a little dark in there, and that was not a fun place to go in there. They'd run around all over the place, and they were tough guys, man.
Well, you have to be from our era to appreciate some of those stories and to have true context. Like, they had Darren Kimball on recently. Yeah. I'm like, oh boy, I remember Kimball as just a raw dog enforcer in the Western Hockey League back in the day. In the day where that era, I mean, man, were those guys tough. Like,
and
crazy.
So
tough.
we played them 8 times a year when he was in Quebec, and like those guys the tough guys would be fighting all the time, and you're like, they must look and go, oh geez, here we go again. Like, and they got to go. It's the same guy, right? And they got to fight. By the way, I know we're gonna go, but when Wendell said something on our podcast I've never forgotten, and I've repeated 100 times, when he was talking about fighting, because Wendell's not a big guy, but he was just so powerful and tough. When he talked about, when he'd throw a punch, he'd try to punch through the back of the guy's head. I'm telling you, when he said that, I was like, is that what you guys think? Like, that is, I had never heard that before. I found that utterly horrifying. He's trying to punch through the back.
Though, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does.
I'm thinking Joey Kosher had the same thinking program. I mean, go down the list, right?
Okay, right. So that's your area, right? All those guys grew up around there.
Yeah,
right? And like, all the games must have lasted forever.
Nuts.
With those guys, because there was the small area that we're talking about, and the number of real tough guys that came out of it. Like, not, he was kind of tough, like legit tough guys that came out of there. Was
I remember that Jeff Odgers and Kevin Kaminsky in the old Saskatoon barn, and they were kids. Like, they were 16, 17, and like, I just what they did to each other in 2 or 3 fights in that game was borderline criminal, but they just wouldn't give up, right? They just
No,
their character wouldn't allow them to give an inch, and they
no.
just kept hitting each other like hams. It was
Well,
just
that
ridiculous.
Audgie was, I played with him in Atlanta, and I've said before, one of my all-time favorites, like just an amazing guy. And
Yeah.
he was one of the guys that when they fought, it was literally a punch in the face contest. Like there was no defense, and these guys would just like just drill each other, and you'd be like, how do they do it?
Yeah.
And I
Tough
mean,
way to make a living.
I think in a lot of ways, thankfully, that's no longer
Yeah.
part of the game.
Yeah.
But man, that feels like 100 years ago.
It does. It does. Tough segue, but speaking of games that have changed of late, how about Mikko Rantanen's game?
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, he gets the automatic 1-game suspension for a second game misconduct before playing 41 consecutive games. So, of course, the first one was the major in the game misconduct against Romanov of the New York Islanders, who terrible news for the Islanders and Romanov. Like, he's out several months. And then more recently, Rantanen gets the game misconduct in the major for his hit on Calgary's Matt Coronado. And that one was more clear cut. I mean, if you're willing to give Rantanen a bit of wiggle room for the Romanov hit because there was a sort of a clip by Mayfield, okay, I understand that. Like, how do you explain that? I know you're not going to try and defend Mikko Rantanen. Why would you? I don't think you would, unless you've got a different theory on it. But I guess, how do you explain those two incidents in such a short window of time?
Well, I really can't. I mean, like there's, a lot of times when a play happens, you hear, well, he's not that type of player. But if you do it, you are that type of player, right? And so if you do it once, you like you say, there is some leeway. A second time, you start to really, in my mind, you start to think about what exactly is he thinking, A, and B, he, in this suspension, hopefully somebody from player safety said, I hope you see the similarity in this, and just think if somebody hits you like that, he would. I watch Rantanen play. I've done a lot of his games. He would lose it if he got shoved into the boards, like either one of those plays. Like I don't like either of the plays. I don't like when we talked about the first one with Romanov, like you get into that area, you just have to think about where you are a little bit differently. The Coronado one was like, I just hate that. Like, I hate the play. You see Coronado's face, like if that happened to Rantanen, he would lose it.
Yeah.
He would lose it. And so now maybe one game is all that, that should happen with the, the 2-game misconducts, but it does feel like there should have been a kick in the pants there as well. That, this cannot be this. I hated both of those plays.
Yeah. Well, and look, we just had some fun talking about the old school policing that used to happen. Look, they're still tough characters. We don't see nearly as much fighting, obviously, but with Rantanen back into the mix, like, wouldn't you as an opposing player, if you're trying to stir things up because Dallas is a damn good team and really good with Mikko Rantanen in the lineup, just skate by the bench and say, oh, by the way, we've paid attention. If you want to get messy, we'll get messy, but we're not looking for you. We're looking for Wyatt Johnson. We're looking for this guy. We're looking for that guy.
I'm telling you, it just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And there would be that was the direct line of approach that used to be. And then the skill guy would go, hey, you guys, knock it off.
Yeah.
Because he was the guy was going to get it. But it just doesn't happen. And I that's where, Dregs, I say this all the time. and I'm consistent with it because it's what I really believe. But I do think the league and player safety should suspend more firmly than they do, because I think that's the way the message becomes clearer. Now, none of this helps the Islanders, who lose one of their best defensemen for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Like that sucks, and it's brutal for Romanov.
So are you talking suspend more frequently? Like if it's close to the line, then err on the side of, okay, we're going to send a message here. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I hate? I hate the $5,000 fine. I think it's useless. I don't think it does anything. I don't think it's a deterrent. And I believe the suspension should be more deterrent based than they are.
So more and more games if necessary.
Yes.
Right?
Like he the only reason he got one game was because it was a second game misconduct within 41
Correct.
games. It wasn't because they felt he should have been suspended for Coronado's hit. And I don't like it. Put it this way, I think there should be greater focus, anything 3 feet around the boards, from 3 feet into the boards. Anytime there is something that is close, I feel like the player that gets hit shoulders more of the blame than the person creating the hit. And I think in a mindset, I think that should flip.
All right.
Not all the time,
Logan?
right? Sorry, Drakes. Not all the time. Sometimes the player puts himself in a bad spot. Hey, that's going to happen too. And I think we all want a black and white determination on all of the rules, and it just doesn't work that way. There's too many gray area things. But I do believe that I've always believed that if you suspend more firmly, that it will act more as a deterrent than what happens now.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the evolution, the introduction of the player safety department is based on video replay, right? And then they have the same amount of time that we do to look at multiple angles, sleep on it if you're George Peros. Maybe you feel differently based on the chorus of opinions that you've solicited, over the last several hours. But they virtually have the same sort of approach that we would have. So, it's not like the officials. Officials miss calls because in most scenarios they only see it once, and it's at it's at full pace. It's not on video replay. So I'm with you. We'll see. And sometimes it takes one incident or incidents, for the general managers, the architects to go, okay, well, let's at least put that topic on the agenda. Doesn't mean we have to knee jerk and change, but let's have that open discussion. So maybe that's what'll come up. Yeah. Logan Cooley, Ray, 5-point night. Yeah. On a heater, obviously. Fourth player in NHL history to record multiple natural hat tricks in a single season at 21 or younger. So 4 goals last night at the expense of the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't know. Again, I like when teams have been, in the mud and kicked in the shins so many times, like Utah, to a degree, Seattle, less so. But Utah, because of the transition from Arizona and the nightmare seasons that they had there, it's when they're topical and there's reason to focus on the Utah Mammoth. I think that's good for the sport, period. And for Logan Cooley, for Clayton Keller, for all the young developing stars they have, that's great individually as well. So I'm always drawn to not just the individual performances, but when teams like that are doing well.
Well, they've other than having trouble getting a name sorted, which took them a little bit of time and a couple of threats of, oh, you can't be this and you can't be that, they've not had a misstep. The ownership group has spent on that team. And just think of the guys that were 3 or 4 years in Arizona to Utah. I mean, they would have the direct correlation or the direct comparison between what was and what is. The guys like Cooley, for the most part, they've just kind of come into here and been like, oh my God, this is pretty amazing. Man, is that kid fat? Is that kid fast?
He is, isn't he?
They are a fast, fun team. I don't think they're a complete team. I mean, Bill Armstrong, their GM, has said the same thing, but they're not quite pieced together yet. But holy, can they skate? And
Yeah.
I will say, I had a 4-goal game once. It
Okay.
feels like the night I got picked to the All-Star game in Detroit. I got told before the game, hey, you got picked to the Eastern Conference All-Star team. And then I had 4 goals and an assist in Detroit, and we won 5-2. It feels like everywhere you go, the puck lands right on your stick, and you're like, oh, I'll just shoot this in the net. Like it is amazing. I had one in the playoffs too, and like I just it's so incredibly, it's like a lightning strike. Like I can guarantee you he went to bed last night and just at some point started to giggle. And he's like, I got 4 goals today. It's like when you were a kid and you're like, I got
That's
4
so good.
goals. Isn't that kind of neat? So amazing night. Congrats to Cooley. He's a really, really good young player.
Yes, he is. Why don't we, later in the week, we'll talk about the Vegas Golden Knights, and I'm okay with the fact that they're up and they're down a little bit. That's a really tough division. And we hinted at it in the Canadian Brewhouse headlines about some of the talk of renovating, retooling, whatever the R word is you want to use for Calgary, for some of these other clubs. I think that we need more focus on that. So we'll get after that later in the week. Anyway, those are your headlines. Thank you to the Canadian Brewhouse. We'll check in on Ask Ray and Dregs Anything later in the week as well. We'll bring in Ryan Rashog for that. But it's time for the Tim's Hockey Challenge. Chris Sabunia always steps in on the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast to bring us fully, statistically up to date. So there he is, Zuby, live and in color for our YouTube viewers.
I decided
Zuby.
Yes.
What's on the hat?
Yeah, what's the hat, Zub?
This is my Manitoba Moose hat that I got. So I was able to attend a Jets game last week. I was in Winnipeg for another video project I was working on. And I was going through the team shop there, and I was like, I can't, as a long-suffering Oiler fan, I can't in good conscience buy any Jets gear, even though there's some amazing, really nice stuff, incredible stuff. But I was like, I saw this Moose hat, and I'm like, I must have that. It's awesome. So
nice.
That was my thing, and I got to see them beat up on Columbus a little bit, and a very good game. Great atmosphere. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah,
I have an original Manitoba Moose sweater from when the Jets left to go to Arizona. And then Mark Chipman and company brought in the Manitoba Moose. Where were they? Minnesota, St. Paul, something, into the International Hockey League. Remember the old IAHL? Oh, yeah. I was one of the original voices, play-by-play guys for the Manitoba Moose. And I still proudly have that sweater.
Here's a little thing from the IHL. There was a team, I think they were in Denver, and they never played a home game. They played the entire season on the road.
Wow!
Could you imagine?
So what? Like end of September? See you, honey. See you, kids.
No, that was their home base. That was their home base. They practiced there, but they didn't have a rink. Like who thought that was a good idea?
No, that's tough. That's a tough one.
How's your road record? We're 30 and 34.
Undefeated at home, though, luckily.
Nice.
I just watched some highlights from an ECHL game because I've been following the Fort Wayne Comets as the Oilers ECHL team, and I saw a highlight, and they had there was a staged fight right off the opening faceoff, and they're still allowed to helmets and they took everything off right before. I was just surprised. I was like, whoa, I'm surprised that those rules that's not that far away, the ECHL. I was surprised that that was still the case, but
yeah.
It is. All right, let's get to the Tim's. Let's get to the Tim's Hockey Challenge here. Yeah. Dregs reasserting his dominance here. He's starting to pull back away here. He got one right on going back to last Thursday. He's 14 out of 36, 350 points. Dregs Ray rather. Unfortunately, didn't hit last week. He's 12 for 36, 300 points. Schauger, I mean, I don't know. This is almost like, I feel like we're punching down here, even talking about. He's just fallen right off. He went over. He's 7 for 36. Dregs, you've doubled him. You've got 14 right in the time that he's got 7.
You know what? Maybe we should do an intervention for him and tell him the goal of this thing is to pick guys that do score.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, like this is
for the play.
Now today there's only one game, which made things a little challenging. I don't think there's any way he'll pick Kasperi Kapanen, but he might, and that would pretty well move his picks.
For the high-level players they put in the buckets, it almost is a challenge to get nobody that consistently.
Yes, it is. It really is.
But he's finding a way. I had a 5-game heater snap last night, and you know what? I sat there and looked at. I was between Logan Cooley and somebody else, and I have Logan Cooley in one of my fantasy teams, and I know he's having a decent season, but it's been kind of hot and cold on the goals. So I went with somebody else, and as a result, I blew it. My 5-game heater was snapped, but the Ray Dregs account, I've got 42 correct over the whole stretch here, and clipping there at 29%. So I've been pretty consistent, getting kind of one per night. We'll try. I'd love to get it over 30. I'd feel good about that.
Yeah.
Are you in the 4 or 5 digits here?
5, actually. You know what? I was in the early days. I was just looking at that today. I think overall I'm like in 12,000 and change. And in the early days, I was well into 6 figures. I was in the 100,000.
Yeah.
So pretty big improvement. Yeah. Fun to play. It only takes a few minutes. So get out there and do it. Lots of fun.
Yeah. You betcha. Thanks.
All right, Zub.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, Raymond. What's the travel schedule like this week?
I'm actually leaving today. I'm doing 3 Canucks games. Anaheim, San Jose. I'm looking forward to seeing those teams. I haven't seen them live this year. And then LA on Saturday. Sunday, I fly to Florida for an ESPN game. I got the Leafs in Florida next Tuesday. So a little bit of a long trip. I'll be gone for 10 days. And you know what the real challenge is of a trip like that? Can you get everything into a carry-on? And the answer is
you can do that. Yeah.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Your packing skills are legit though, right? In terms of not the amount that you can get in, well, that's part of it, but how you pack. Make sure, do you roll your jackets?
Yes. No, not jackets. But everything else is rolled up. And, you know, there is a time, I got one day that I can probably get some laundry done. And that allows for less too. So, 10 days.
This is just a gratuitous name drop, but I can't even remember the event, but you would appreciate how significant this is. I believe it was a golf event in Toronto. Oh boy, 15 plus years ago. And we got an incredible Roots suit bag, like a travel bag, but one of those it was leather and it folded up.
Yeah.
And the amount, like only people that travel as much as you do, and I used to, I don't as much anymore, go, okay, now we're talking.
Okay,
that's some quality right there.
Now, I think we should end this podcast today with one of your, it wasn't a quirk, but one of your strategies of packing in the days when you were traveling like all the time.
Underwear?
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Once a year. I didn't do it all the time, but it would depend. Like if it was a short trip, I would take 4 or 5 pairs of underwear and discard them when I was, I just leave them on the road. Now I would throw them in the garbage, but I'd have the new ones ready to go. And I'd either do it if it was a long trip, I'd do it in one trip. If it wasn't a long trip, I'd do it in 2 or 3 trips. It was an annual way of getting rid of your old gitch. And it worked
by the
beautifully.
Way, and I did not know I did not know what you were going to say. Well, I knew you were going to tell that story, but I would have bet if I could have got one of those prop bets in right away, I would have bet you were going to use the word gitch. and I would have won $1 billion trillion.
Come
there was
on.
no way. I knew you were going to use that word. Unbelievable. Oh, that's so good.
All right. Well, we'll end it there.
Okay, so
have a safe trip,
yes,
buddy.
we're talking Thursday, American Thanksgiving to everybody that'll be listening. I hope you're all prepped up and hope you get lots of family around to hang out with. Thanks for listening today.
You bet. And thank you to our sponsors who continue to support the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast. To Tim Hortons, thank you. And thank you to the Canadian Brew House. Until next time, stay safe, everybody.